George Galloway, who was as a former Labour MP and quite controversial. He's been sacked from talk radio for making anti-Semitic remarks. Now, it's not something that should be a headline news. It's just a bit of gossip talk. Basically, a few weeks ago was the Football European Championship final between Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspur. Great occasion. Two English clubs fighting it out for the big prize, being champions of Europe, and Liverpool won 2-0. Now, it so happens that Tottenham has always had a large Jewish following. I think Arsenal, their local rivals, have also got a contingent, but Tottenham is sort of known as being supported by Jews in London, and fine, nothing wrong with that. But what happened was that George Galloway doesn't like Israel, not so much Jews, but Israel, and he said he spotted an Israeli flag flying at the match, and it upset him because he's thinking of Palestine, all that stuff. So he objected to it, and as a consequence of that, it was regarded as an anti-Semitic remark, and he was basically sacked. He goes on to say that he actually hadn't been paid for several weeks by talk radio, and and he had a bit of a Barney on Good Morning Britain. It's one of the ITV programmes in Britain. One of the presenters is Piers Morgan. He was sort of chairing, if you like, a dispute between him and Alan Sugar, who's a multi-millionaire businessman who happens to be Jewish and a Tottenham Hotspur fan. To me, it was all ado about nothing, and I don't know. I mean, I don't think that George Galloway is particularly anti-Semitic, but it's interpreted that way. Having said that, my last video about Europa, the last battle, I don't know if I dare mention that, was censured by YouTube. I got a strike for it, and it was a commentary about a history documentary that itself was banned. So, it's ridiculous. You can't say anything. You can't discuss it. They can't discuss history. I just know. In the program, I said I wasn't anti-Jewish. I got nothing against them, or even Zionists for that matter. It's not an issue to me. But there we go. I've appealed it, but I'm just a nobody, so I'll probably get kicked off. Which brings me into another subject. Now, on my website, Chimes Media website, I actually allowed space for a guy called Ewan Jones, who's a citizen journalist. He's known as being a men's rights supporter, and he's not from the far left at all. And if you're not from the far left, that must mean you're all far right. But he did a number of little talks and documentaries, and I used to put his videos on there. Well, he's been banned off YouTube. He's been scrubbed, totally scrubbed. It seems that he'd gone to Cambridge, I think it was Cambridge University, and did a talk. It was to do with men's issues. A bunch of feminists turned up. They tried to close down the event. They didn't succeed. And he went to put his video out, and subsequent to all this, he's been scrubbed entirely. So that's another one bit in the dust. And of course, he's not famous like Black Pigeon Speaks. They tried to ban him off YouTube. Don't know what he'd done wrong, but he just wrong talk. And there was such a furore about that. A lot of supporters that they brought him back. But you're on borrowed time when you're like that, aren't you? I mean, and the most people like myself. We're nobodies. We're nothing special. We're not anything. We don't have huge followings. We just say our bit, and it's when they start all this banning stuff, it's kind of very, very sinister. It really is sinister. And I've watched YouTube for years. We don't watch YouTube rather than television. We don't have television, and I've loved it for years. But the flavour of things is changing, and I would urge others to go to them. Alternative sites like BitChute's just as good. I think it runs on a torrent type regime, the way the technology works. Don't ask me too much about that. And then there's Gab, which is the alternative to Twitter. I think that's far better than Twitter. It allows more words and everything else, and they're all free speech places, but they all get called far right, extremist, Nazi, and the rest of it. And don't get me on that one again. Nazis are not right wing; they're left wing. If you look at their policies, they always were left wing, and the lefties over time have rewritten history to put them in the right camp. But anyway, that's another issue. Right, another one, and actually my wife picked up on this. This is to do with this climate change nonsense, which has got people, kids, young people in particular, are hysterical about it. And when you look at the evidence, it's not that strong, really. And there's all scientists, no, they're not all scientists, about 34,000 NASA scientists, proper scientists, I would say, who actually oppose the climate change, the warmest theory. And in fact, actually, we should be due for an ice age, believe it or not, heaven forbid, because that would be the death of all of us. There's some estimates that the global temperature is likely to drop 1 degree overall rather than global warming. But I think my wife was looking at this. There's some predictions that say by 2028 we could expect famines because crops will be failing. Now this is my gripe against climate change people, because they see CO2, carbon dioxide, as the big monster of climate change, and it doesn't bear out. It does not bear out. Now, aside from the ice core samples, Antarctic ice core samples, that show that carbon dioxide follows temperature changes, not leads, there are other means of investigating climate change over the centuries and millennia. And that is, one of the ones is counting stomata. Now, stomata are the little perforations, little mouths, if you like, breathing mouths of plants, which usually you can find under the leaves of plants. And you can work out, and these, what it is, plants basically absorb CO2 to make, it helps with their photosynthesis and helps them to feed and grow. So carbon dioxide is a necessary plant food, and without carbon dioxide there'd be no life, there'd be no plants, and there'd be no animals. That'd be it. So carbon dioxide should not be got rid of. It's a stupid thing to get rid of it. Now, over the years, over the millennia, if you like, the number of stomata and the size of stomata on plants can and has been used to estimate how much year on year climate has changed and how much carbon dioxide there is in the atmosphere. Because there's plenty of carbon dioxide, there's less stomata, and they're smaller. And conversely, it's the other way around if there isn't so much, because the plants are basically being sort of starved of their necessary carbon dioxide. So looking at these, going over the years, it basically confirms that there has been a variation of carbon dioxide over the millennia. And what's happened is quite natural. To get rid, I mean, if we go down to less than 150 parts per million, and if you think about it, at the moment it's about 450 parts per million, which is, was it 0.045% or something? It's real trace, okay? But if you go below 150, I think it is, parts per million, plants stop growing, they stop developing. It's the end of us, basically. Now, if we have more carbon dioxide, naturally there'll be more plants. There are in the last 20 years there's 5% more trees. I don't think that's just because people are planting trees. It's because there is more CO2 for them to absorb. Now, if there are more plants, there's more food, and it causes the chance of famine recedes. It must do. Anyway, that's all I want to say on that particular subject. And until next time, take care of yourself.